Today I wanted to give you my top 5 tips on how to beat the island hopping scenario in the game Cities Skylines. Scenarios were released within the Natural Disasters expansion pack. When you enter the scenario, you are given an empty map with one highway connection. This is the first square that you start with, but you can purchase up to 8 more later on. You'll notice most of the map is water with small islands here and there. The first tip is to start off as cheap as possible. Here, I'm only building the cheapest roads and trying to maximize the space as best I can. Zone as much residential as possible in the beginning, since you can change the zoning later and our only concern right now is building our bank account. This is going to sound a little bit crazy, but tip number 2 is to ignore all surfaces. The first 2 natural disasters hit early on in the game, and if you have any surface buildings, they will collapse and need to be replaced entirely. You will encounter issues with buildings becoming abandoned due to high crime rates and fires, but it is cheaper in the long run to demolish these buildings as they become abandoned than it is to replace the service buildings. As you can see, they tend to regenerate pretty quickly anyways. Tip 3. Raise the taxes. Citizens won't complain about taxes until they reach over 12%. This allows you to raise funds quickly and efficiently without doing too much work or spending what little money you currently have. The first natural disaster to hit is an earthquake. It will completely level any buildings nearby and will ruin your roads. To avoid additional expenses, I don't suggest building anything on this island until the earthquake passes. As you can see, it splits the island right down the middle, so it's best to wait for the earthquake to pass before building on this island. Tip 4. Tsunamis will not affect your roads, so if you're going to splurge on anything, it should be your roadways. Traffic control is very important in City Skylines in general, so build 4 or 6 lane roads along all your main routes. I personally like to have one main road connecting my islands and have all my bridges be 6 lanes. Remember to go in and adjust the amount of stop signs versus stop light. Tip 5. As soon as you can, start zoning high-density residential. This will help bring your population up and make up for the losses you will experience during the natural disasters. Do not zone any high-density commercial or office space yet, since your population won't be educated enough. The second natural disaster is a tsunami with the intensity of 5.0. It will begin in the northwest corner of the map and sweep straight down the entire map. Any buildings that sustain extensive flooding or are underwater for a while will be abandoned. Raise your speed to 3 until the tsunami passes your first island space and then lower it back to 1. Quickly begin to demolish all of the abandoned buildings on the first island. Some may have survived and you can leave these alone, but the majority will become abandoned and require demolition. Luckily, the demand should still be high and they should begin to generate quite quickly. Only begin working on a space once the tsunami has passed and all of the flooding has dispersed. Otherwise, you will encounter buildings generating and almost immediately becoming abandoned again. This step is vital to balancing out the losses of both population and money. If you are too slow, you may go bankrupt or lose your entire population. If you get overwhelmed, feel free to pause and complete the process one island at a time.